So we said at the top of the show that this was not just a city issue, and that's where the conversation will go now, beyond the borders of the city, where people may not think about homelessness or people dealing with the issue of homelessness. Shauna Eubanks is the Fragile Family Program Coordinator for Community Council of St. Charles County, and Sue Wagner is the Executive Director of Covenant House, Missouri. Did the Great Recession do anything for homelessness in the counties of St. Louis and St. Charles?
I can speak to that first. Yes, it did. The economic downturn, I think, was a catalyst to where we are today. In the counties, most of the homeless folks that we see are homeless because of loss of income, loss of jobs. So they're folks that were working until maybe within the last 10 years, and the economic downturn and lost those jobs and those wages.
And we're trying to dispel or maybe have a clearer, more accurate picture of what we're talking about here. What does it look like to be homeless in the county, in the counties?
Yeah, and really just to piggyback what Shauna just said, a lot of the youth who were looking for jobs during that time were competing against people who were being laid off from corporations. And so it really had a very negative impact on homeless youth or youth who were at risk or disconnected. The youth that we see who are homeless in the county are couch surfing, or they're hiding on lawn furniture, on patios, tree houses. It's a little bit different than the abandoned buildings that you might find them in the city or under the viaducts. So in the county, there's some of those locations that we find our youth.
Also, to speak to that, in the counties surrounding, homelessness looks a little bit different than in the urban areas. You see a lot more family homelessness. For instance, in St. Charles area, there's 59% of our homeless count is families. 56% of that is families with young children. They're hidden. You don't see them. They're proud. They're staying with family. They're couch surfing, as you said. They're moving around. They don't want to be seen. They don't want services necessarily. They want to assimilate and be invisible. Their kids are going to school. The buses are picking them up at motels. The buses are picking them up at campgrounds to keep the children in school. All the while, you don't know they're there.
That's very true for homeless youth as well. You could be in U City Loop, and our teens look like everybody else, every other teen, because they haven't had the longevity of life yet. And the media isn't portraying them as often. You see the chronically homeless adults who are maybe mentally ill and talking, psychotic or walking around. Our teens look like every other teen, and they also want to assimilate into just normal teenage life. And they often will just blend in with the other kids. And if you went and asked any of our youth at Covenant House, most often you would not hear them say, yes, I'm homeless.
So they're hanging out on a loop, flipping through records of vintage vinyl, but then no place to go.
Right.
Where do they go?
Well, in St. Charles County, we don't have an emergency shelter except for women and children. That's a limited capacity. But the faith community has stepped up in the St. Charles, Lincoln and Warren communities, where they will provide motel vouchers for 1, 2, 3 nights for someone to get off the streets for a few nights. So the faith community has really supported the homeless population in the absence of any other structures to do so.
Do we have numbers if people are staying with relatives on couches and want to be invisible? Can they be counted? Do we have any idea of the severity of this issue?
We do. We do count people who are considered doubled up. There's various definitions for homelessness, and depending on who your funders are and such, homelessness means something different to different people. But we do count those numbers, and for 2014, the counties of St. Charles, Lincoln, and Warren had about 896 counted total homeless people.
Yeah, and for homeless youth, there's, they estimate between 1,500 and 2,500 are homeless, but we know that that's a low number because the feeder for that is the St. Louis public school system, and legally youth can drop out of school at 17. And so if they haven't committed a crime or are not pregnant, they really are just flying under the radar, and it's not until something happens to them that they start to become noticed in the social service arena.
The other important piece that, if I can, we can count the people people who aren't sheltered, we're missing the people that are one step away from being homeless. That's an enormous issue for the entire region, for anyone working with this population. We don't catch them before they become homeless.
Same with youth. I mean, I always think Covenant House is really a prevention program. Hopefully we're preventing youth from becoming chronically homeless adults, but I agree with Shauna. I mean, there's so many kids who are disconnected or at risk of becoming homeless, and they are not being counted in anything.
Do we have enough services in the county? The Reverend alluded to it. Mr. Roth, I think, was alluding to it between the lines just a bit. Does St. Louis County, does St. Charles County, do you have enough services from the public side?
It's kind of a double-edged sword. I think that we can say we do and we don't. And what I mean by that is there's resources out there, but what we need to do a better job of is aligning those resources to meet the client's needs. We don't have a real understanding of what clients want, where clients are at, what will best serve them. We think we do, but we don't always know that. So a better alignment of the services and resources, I think, is the answer.
Is there a countywide plan in either of your places?
Yes.
There's a game plan in St. Louis County.
I believe so, yes.
Is this problem getting better or is it getting worse in the suburbs?
It's changing, I think. It's changing as the economy changes, the issue is changing as well.
I think for the youth we serve, it's pretty much the same. Because they don't have that family support system. So that's where our youth are so different than the adult population. They really are fending for themselves. And so without real strong education and employment support, as well as mental health, that really needs to be the underlying foundation for anything you do with our kids, that they just really are not, it's the same, we see the same issue.
Last question, do you think people, do you think your neighbors know the severity of this problem in the suburbs?
Absolutely not.
No.
How could they? How could they? Our clients are invisible. They're living among us and we don't know that they're homeless. They don't want to be seen.
Right. Every year we see about 47 to 50% of our youth from St. Louis County, and every time I say that to people from St. Louis County, they're shocked.
Mm-hmm. Say it again.
About 47% of the youth we serve at Covenant House, Missouri are from St. Louis County, and every tour I give, I always mention that, and everybody is always shocked.